William Shakespeare. Known as the greatest English language writer in history, to be dubbed the national poet. William Shakespeare is the author with the most played theatrical works to date. Countless schools and theatre festivals still display Shakespeare's works today. His poems are still widely read and studied. Research into the life of the poet is also still being carried out, but most of it remains unsolved. Nicknamed the Bard of Avon, William Shakespeare has written at least 37 plays and a collection of poems. William Shakespeare was also the founder of the famous Globe Theatre House in London, and was instrumental in the development of the English language. Early life and family. There is no official record of the poet's birthday. However, there are documents showing that Shakespeare was baptized in the Church of the Holy Trinity in the city of Stratford-upon-Avon, England, on April 26, 1564. From there it is then believed that William Shakespeare was born around April 23, 1564, and that date is then used by researchers as the date of birth of the writer. William is the third of 8 children. He has 2 older sisters and 3 younger brothers. But 3 died at a young age. His father, John Shakespeare, was a businessman who was primarily engaged in the leather trade, while his mother, Mary Arden, is the heir to the land. Before William's birth, John Shakespeare had been a successful merchant and even served on the city council. Later, however, his family background declined around the late 1570s to the 1580s. There are almost no records of William's childhood, including his school days. But researchers believe William is at a local language school studying in Stanford. It was at that school that he learned to read and write and received a classical education. It is not clear whether William spent his time in school until graduation or left him to learn business from his father. Documentary records show that William was married at the age of 18. He married Anne Hathaway, who was 8 years his senior. The marriage took place in November 1582 and was arranged in a hurry because Anne was already pregnant. Less than 7 months later Susanna was born, in May 1583. Less than 2 years later, Anne gave birth again in February 1585. This time the twin boys and girls were named Hamnet and Judith. Hamnet died when he was 11 years old. It is believed William and Anne often lived apart because of the poet who danced as a writer and theatre performer in London. It wasn't until his parents' time that Shakespeare returned home and lived with his family in Stratford. The poet's works. There are 7 years in William Shakespeare's life that are not recorded in any document between 1585 when his twins were born, to 1592 when he began his career as a writer and playwright. In more than 2 decades of work, William Shakespeare has written 37 plays, including the most famous of all time, the story of Romeo and Juliet. But there is no real evidence that can show with certainty the order in which Shakespeare's works were made. So the researchers grouped them into historical themes: tragedy, conditioning, and tragic. Prior to the 1600s, it is believed that William Shakespeare recorded many historical works and was written, although Romeo and Juliet could be said to have been posted. William Shakespeare's early works include Henry IV, which is divided into 3 parts, Richard II and Henry V, which dramatizes the story of the ruler. William Shakespeare also wrote comedies such as A Midsummer Night's Dream, Merchant of Venice, Much Ado About Nothing, The As You Like It and Twelfth Night. Other plays written by Shakespeare before 1600 include Titus Andronicus, The Comedy of Errors, The Two Gentlemen of Verona, The Taming of the Shrew, Love's Labour Lost, King John and the Merry Wives of Windsor. After 1600, William Shakespeare began to write more tragedy-themed stories, including Hamlet, Othello, King Lear, and Macbeth. At the end of the lesson, he still wrote a lot of tragedy themes such as Cymbeline, The Winter's Tale and The Tempest. These works are not as gloomy as the tragedies written before. Other plays that Shakespeare wrote during this period are All's Well That Ends Well, Measure for Measure, Timon of Athens, Coriolanus, Pericles, and Henry VIII. Not only writing for drama performances, William Shakespeare also often wrote poetry. One of the poetic works he published was Venus and Andanies, which was released around 1593 when the London theatre was closed due to a plague. Another of Shakespeare's famous poems is the poem entitled The Rape of Lycoris, which emphasizes that he is not only good at writing plays. In addition to writing for plays, Shakespeare is also said to have participated in the number of titles he wrote. Not only that, in 1599, William Shakespeare also tried to invest by opening his own theatre with his business partners on the south bank of the Thames, which was named the Globe Theatre. In the early 1600s, William Shakespeare also rented a building near Stratford, which later doubled in value and contributed to the award. With the eventual arrival of the real estate business, William was able to focus more on writing his performances without distractions. The end of the poet's life. Researchers believe William Shakespeare died on April 23, 1616, right on his 52nd birthday. Church records show he was buried at Trinity Church in Stratford. But not the cause of the death of the maestro. In his will, leaving most of the property for the first daughter Susanna gave, then a small one for his wife, Anne. This has led to speculation that their marriage did not go smoothly, although so far this has not been proven. William Shakespeare's grave is at Stratford Church. On his tombstone is a threatening inscription directed at the thieves, which reads, "Blessed are those who leave this grave, and cursed is he who moves my bones." His tomb is still well preserved and has not been moved to this day, although there was a request from archaeologists to dismantle it for scientific purposes and to find out the cause of the maestro's death. Writing. Shakespeare wrote about the very human condition. He understands what almost everyone wants: to love others, and be loved by others, eat, drink and sleep in peace, to live in a world that is sublime and has meaning in life. Shakespeare also understood that humans have weaknesses that are sometimes far removed from their good, or bad, plans. Shakespeare is a genius who shows us the truth. List of works. Tragedies: Romeo and Juliet, Macbeth, King Lear, Hamlet, Othello, Titus Andronicus, Julius Caesar, Antony and Cleopatra, Coriolanus, Troilus and Cressida, Timon of Athens. Comedy: The Comedy of Errors, All's Well That Ends Well, As You Like It. It is not enough to speak, but to speak true. A Midsummer Night's Dream. A Midsummer Night's Dream. Much Ado About Nothing. Measure for Measure. The Tempest. Taming of the Shrew. Twelfth Night, or What You Will. The Merchant of Venice. The Merry Wives of Windsor. Love's Labour's Lost. The Two Gentlemen of Verona. Pericles Prince of Tyre. Cymbeline. The Winter's Tale. History. Richard III. Richard II. Henry VI. Part 1. Henry VI. Part 2. Henry VI. Part 3. Henry V. Henry IV. Part 1. Henry IV. Part 2. Henry VIII. King John. Poetry. Shakespeare's Sonnets. Venus and Adonis. The Rape of Lucerus. The Passionate Pilgrim. The Phoenix and the Turtle. A Lover's Complaint.